Ciao, buongiorno, buonasera. Today I'm gonna talk about the 3 out of this world churches that will fill your soul with incredible stories and beauty, and your stomach with delicious pastries from ancient recipes. Stick till the end of this video because I'm gonna reveal unbelievable things. You will thank me, I promise. Our tour starts and finishes at Bellini Square, Piazza Bellini, which boasts, as I said, the 3 stunning churches, 2 of them UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Ready? Let's go. Andiamo. Allora, the first church you gotta see in this mini tour in Bellini Square is the Church of Saint Mary of the Admiral, or simply Martorana as the locals call it. This is one of these attractions that when you are there, you're like, jeez, thank God I didn't skip it. Trust me when I say that this church is really beautiful. One of the most beautiful you've ever seen in Palermo, and not only. This church is famous for its mosaics. When you step in, you are struck by all these golden tiles telling stories from the Bible, and not all. As you walk, you have to hold your jaw to prevent it from hitting the floor. You must absolutely visit this UNESCO site mainly for 2 reasons. The first reason to see this church is for the story behind it. You can learn a very important life lesson. The story starts almost 1000 years ago with a guy named George of Antioch. This guy is a sort of medieval Syrian Jean-Claude Van Damme. He has great warrior skills, acumen, and leadership. The guy is a big shot in Tunisia. He's working with the rulers, but at some point, you guys take over, and for some reason, they want to cut off his head. So in Rambo style, the guy alone manages to flee to Sicily, Palermo. In Palermo, the Normans are running the show, and these folks are all about war, weapons, and conquest. So the HR department is always looking for good people in this industry. So one day, a counselor goes to the king, Roger II, and is like, Your Majesty, you ever heard about this guy, George of Antioch? He's a freaking war machine. He's smart, speaks many languages. You should meet him. And the king is like, hey, let's meet this guy. They meet, they spend time together, and in no time, George becomes the king's right hand. The king makes George the Admiral of the Norman Navy, and George repays his trust by kicking butts all over the Mediterranean, expanding the Norman Empire. Now, George, despite being a butcher on the battlefield, is also a devout Greek Orthodox Christian, and he wants to find a place to worship in his own style. So he goes to the king and is like, Your Majesty, is there any possibility I could be the church my name? You know, I kick people's asses from morning to night. It would be nice to have a church dedicated to me. I can say a little prayer every now. And the king replies, Go for it, George, no problem. So in 1143, George finally gets his wish. The stunning Saint Mary of Admiral is built. Solid Norman architecture from outside, but you step inside and bam, an explosion of Byzantine mosaic, just like George liked. It wasn't just a prayer spot, it's a monument to his success, a way to leave a lasting legacy and elevate his status. Too bad for George, the church now is known as Martorana among the locals, not as Saint Mary of the Admiral. That's because then later on the church was merged to a nearby convent founded by a noble woman named Eloisa Martorana. Looks like George did all that work for nothing. Even in the 1100s, seeking validation was the name of the game, just like today. The difference is that today we post filtered crap on Instagram for a fleeting hit of approval, and then they post at churches filled with incredible art. We humans haven't changed that much. We have just found more stupid ways to show off. And the second reason to see this church is for its architecture, known as Norman Arab Byzantine architecture. When this church was built, the Normans, the stuff dudes from Northern Europe, were running the show in Palermo. But when they arrived in Palermo, they found a mix of Arabs and Byzantines who were there from the time they ruled the island. Instead of kicking them out, the Normans saw an opportunity. Not only did they believe that diversity is power, but they also recognized that both Arabs and Byzantines were incredibly skilled in art and architecture. So every time they put up a construction, they involved Arab and Byzantine craftsmen. That's how Norman Arab Byzantine style was born, a blend of power, beauty, and faith from different worlds. And George of Antioch, our badass here in Admiral, was all about it. He built this church with a solid normal structure. He used these Arab arches to give it a feeling of exotic luxury, and then filled the interior with this beautiful, stunning mosaics telling stories from the Bible. And not only, one mosaic even depicts George himself at the feet of the Virgin Mary, offering the church to her. This type of architecture has become really important, and Palermo has other 8 monuments in the same style, all of them on the UNESCO list. This church is one of the best examples of this architectural style. Tour takes only 20-30 minutes and the ticket costs only €2, so don't miss it. And by the way, keep the ticket because it gives you discount on the other churches in Bellini Square. And the second church to see in Bellini Square is San Cataldo, just next to Martorana Church, with 3 red domes on top that looks like an Arabian palace, but no, it's a centuries-old church. If you're visiting Palermo, even from outside only, this church is a must-see, mainly for 2 important reasons. The first reason to see the Church of San Cataldo is for its story. We are still hanging with the Normans, years after the Admiral George built his fancy church, Martorano, St. Mary of Admiral. Both George and old King Roger II died, so his son William I steps in. The new king looks around at his advisors and is like, seriously, Dad? These are Indians. They are competing for the dumbest of the year award. I need to breathe here. Someone with a backbone. But luckily for the king, his clever old dog father had this guy, Mario, hanging around. Mario was ambitious, clever, was a real political shark. William meets the guy, gives him a shot, and the guy Mario delivers. Mario does a lot of great things for the kingdom and the king. He strengthens the kingdom and is even able to get the king and the pope to play nice, which was a mission impossible at that time. Mario's got a problem, has got a ruthless streak. People whisper, Mario, careful, you are making enemies faster than a bad chef. But Mario doesn't give a damn. He's like, hey, forget about haters. I am untouchable. Power goes to his head. One day, he swaggers up to the king and is like, Your Majesty, I've got a question. Your dad's right hand, this George, had this church. What about me? I need a legacy. Don't I get to stamp my name on something memorable? William is like, hey dude, tone down the egg. But reluctantly, he gives Mario the red light because Mario did many great things for the kingdom. So Mario now is super happy. He starts to build the Church of San Cataldo. Unique, bold, and with these 3 red domes on top that scream, look at me, in perfect Northern Arab style. He's even planning to build this fancy dome inside. But then, mid-construction, Mario gets assassinated. You can't step on everyone and expect a happy ending, right? Rivals, jealousy, who knows, but what a way to go down in history. Cancelled 12th century style. And just like that, Mario gets the medieval boot. Ambitious, sure. Powerful, definitely, but he missed the man from playing nice. Looks like even back in the day, him making too many enemies was a no-go. In the end, Palermo is the real winner. It's got this architectural gem with these 3 red domes on top that have become the symbol of the city. Not only the symbol of the city, but also a symbol that reminds us an important lesson. Ambitious, cool, but don't forget to watch your back. Second reason to see this church is for its architecture. It's the same Norman Arab architecture I've already mentioned, as you can imagine, was really popular at that time. The church has a simple boxy shape on the outside, typical of normal architecture, and then this red Arabian style domes on top. When you look up at these domes in the sky, you feel like you are in Niagara, but Aladdin City. And you almost expect Aladdin on his magic carpet flying over it. The inside is surprisingly small and plain. There are many theories about why this church is bare and unadorned. Some say it was left incomplete after Mario's assassination. Others say that ran out of money, while others say that it was left incomplete on purpose to focus on prayer and reflection. Whatever the reason, I love the bareness because kind of pushes you into a meditative state. Visit the church ticket costs only €250 and the tour takes about 10-15 minutes. Don't forget to keep your ticket because it gives you discount on the other churches in Bellini Square. And church number 3 that you're gonna visit, the last one in Bellini Square, is Santa Catarina, or Saint Catherine. This is a Baroque masterpiece, so over the top that it makes a Kardashian wedding look modest. And this is a place that can feed your soul and your cravings all at once, and I'll tell you why. This place is famous for 2 important reasons. The first reason to see Santa Catarina, St. Catherine Church, is for its story. And what a story! A story with a big, sweet surprise, so stick till the end of the story. The story kicks off in the 1300s, more than 100 years after St. Mary of Admiral and San Cataldo churches were built. 2 wealthy Sicilian noblewomen are sitting on piles of cash, and one of them is like, you know what? I'm not leaving a damn thing to my heirs. I don't want them to celebrate over my dead body with my money. And the other is like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's donate our money to a monastery where they can provide shelter for poor and abandoned women. So they sign the papers and they donate a lot of stuff and money to a monastery here in Bellini Square. It's a poor, a barren, humble monastery, just 4 walls but filled with love. And this monastery slowly, day by day, welcomes more and more women, and it's dedicated to Saint Catherine, Santa Caterina. Now, we are in a time where if you aren't the firstborn son, you are screwed, because all the family fortune goes to him, and the daughters either get married off to some old rich creep, or you end up a nun. All the women from the richest and aristocratic families in Palermo who didn't end up with some old creep end up in this church as cloistered nuns, turning it into the Harvard of convents. So now the humble and poor monastery is filled with nuns coming from the richest and most powerful families in Palermo. People start to call them the Principesse di Clausura, or cloistered nuns. Thanks to the big donations that this church is getting from these families, Santa Catarina Church gains wealth and prestige every single day. So the nuns at some point are like, you know, we like then the humble place, but let's put some decoration, here and there to make the place look nice. So over the years, they renovate the place and it goes from a shabby shack to a Baroque masterpiece. They get all the most expensive and flashy decorations that Baroque has to offer. Marble, statues, paintings, the works. This is a Baroque bombshell. Now, if you don't know Baroque, this is a style that the church is using a lot during this time. That's because there's this German guy, a priest named Martin Luther, who is spitting in the church space. He's accusing it of scamming and stealing people's wealth, which is true, by the way. So the Pope is like, hey guys, we are losing believers. We gotta be more persuasive because this guy is saying a lot of bullshit and people believe him. During this time, there is no media, news, no TV, so you gotta find more creative ways to persuade people. And so the church starts to use this Baroque that is exaggerated, it's bold, it's more persuasive, and it can get into people's heads more quickly. And St. Catarina Church embodies all the features of Baroque. It's really impressive, it's really beautiful with this overwhelming decoration. But life for these nuns, despite the glam, is not exactly a walk in the park. They are leading a crappy life confined within these 4 walls. The most exciting thing they do is comb and decorate dolls. One day, the younger nuns have a meeting. One of them is like, hey sisters, we gotta do something here. I'm freaking done with decorating dolls and praying to the Lord all day long. One of them has a brilliant idea. She's like, let's make pastries. The older nuns make great pastries. Let's learn their tricks and make a business. We can sell our pastries to the rich people after the Sunday mass. Basically our families. And all of them are like, that's a great idea. They set up a pastry lab and in no time, boom, tons of people line up every Sunday to buy their desserts. Cassata, cannoli, almond pastries, chocolate cakes, everything is delicious. Basically, people start going to the church not for religious stuff, but for the blessed cannolis. The nuns turn into the Renaissance version of Jeff Bezos. If they had Amazon vans back then, they would have sold their cannolis all the way to China. People would speak about Santa Catarina pastries for centuries. And guess what? You can visit the monastery today and buy pastries from their shop made from these ancient recipes. You can go there, buy some cannolis and eat them in the cloister where the nuns once hid. How cool is that? Sure, it's gotten a bit touristy, but the sweets are top notch. They might have been cloistered away, but they have left a legacy that is still alive, sweet and kicking. Don't miss the monastery because the sweets of the Principesse di Clausura are waiting for you. Now, apart from the story, architecture and the delicious desserts, there is one more reason to see Santa Catarina Church. It's the roofs. You gotta pay the full €10 ticket to access the roofs, but it's worth it because the view is spectacular. You get a stunning view over the two churches already mentioned, San Cataldo and Martorana, and the Fountain of Shade. I've talked about it in another video, just go check it out. To visit the church, you have different ticket options. You can visit only the church and the cloister, but I recommend go for the full ticket. It's only €10, and you can visit the convent, the nuns' rooms, and as I said, the roofs. And don't forget to conclude the tour in their pastry shop. Grab some cannoli, cassata, whatever you want, and enjoy them in the cloister. Trust me, it's a super cool experience, one of the best things you'll do in Palermo. That's it, grazie mille, check the description for important links. Ciao!